Right, I'm like really not sure how well this is going to go. Ah, need to make the volume of the music lower. So this is just statement of code. I'm gonna try to solve the seventh day. Maybe it's going to be much harder than the other days, and I'm just gonna break. Look at the diagram of the. Since this is a teleport to lab, there are lots of spare. Okay, whatever. Let me read from the beginning. You thank the cephalopods for the help and exit the trash compactor, finding yourself in the familiar halls of a North Pole research wing. Based on the large sign that says Teleporter Hub, they seem to be researching teleportation. You can't help but try it for yourself and step onto a large yellow teleporter pad. Suddenly, you find yourself in an unfamiliar room. The room has no doors. The only way out is the teleporter. Unfortunately, the teleporter seems to be leaking magic smoke. Since this is a teleporter lab, there are lots of spare parts, manuals, and diagnostic equipment lying around. After connecting one of the diagnostic tools, it helpfully displays error code "Oh no," which apparently means that there is an issue with one of the tachyon manifolds. We quickly locate the diagram of the tachyon manifold, your puzzle input. A tachyon beam enters the manifold at the location marked S. Tachyon beams always move downward. Tachyon beams pass freely through empty space. Dot. However, if a tachyon beam encounters a splitter, the beam is stopped. Instead, a new tachyon beam continues from the immediate left and from the immediate right of the splitter. In this example, the incoming tachyon beam extends downward from S until it reaches the first splitter. At this point, the original beam stops, and two new beams are emitted from the splitter, like this. The beams continue downward until they reach more splitters. At this point, the two splitters create a total of only 3 tachyon beams, since they are both dumping tachyons into the same place between them. This process continues until all of the tachyon beams reach a splitter or exit the manifold. To repair the teleporter, you first need to understand the beam splitting properties of the tachyon manifold. In this example, a tachyon beam is split a total of 21 times. Analyze your manifold diagram. How many times will the beam be split? Hmm. So like, how many times there's a beam above a splitter, basically. Alright. So I created a directory for the 7th day. Simply gonna copy a main file from the first day, remove some stuff. By the way, this is the wrong usage of this of this function. It should be the other way around. I gotta fix this in all of them, all of the files, but I'm lazy about it. So I'm interested to see the input. It's huge. Alright, let's copy the example input. It is, and my actual input. Ready. Did I write this? Yeah, I wrote this. So what do I do? I feel like I should just read the input into some kind of large two-dimensional array. Ba-da-da-da-da. I could literally just do that in the main function. Actually, now let's do it in here. I'm gonna just read the whole file. Have read an entire file somewhere here. Oh, and I can probably use the same code to calculate the width and height of it. Type define struct 2D array. 2D array and maybe cars 2D. Yeah, that sounds cool. So we have items, then we have width and height. And I can put cars 2D as a result here. Mm, so basically we first just read the entire file into a buffer. And then we try to calculate the height and width of it. Result items equals buff. Result width equals width. Here I can just replace it with height. I don't know why I did that. Focus dispatch GCC. I may want to debug it, so I'm gonna put GGDB here, and I also want to run it. GCC GGDB. I mean, actually, no, I don't want to run it because dispatch is kind of stupid, and I have no idea how to like terminate processes with dispatch. So if something weird happens and I have to close this program, for example, because of an infinite loop, I simply won't be able to do that. I'll have to close Vim for that. Which I usually do, but for the purposes of this stream I just don't want to. So I read this file into a structure like this, which I know we can later free. I can even free it here. Need stdlib for that. And yeah, buff. Load input stream. Cars D input. Now the problem with this thing is that it includes it includes new lines. Let's rename this to n. The problem with this thing is that it includes new lines, which you can fix by having height and width, my own height and width as variables in here. But when I do any kind of addressing with it, I still need to use like the width from the input itself. So like x plus y multiplied by in width. So I gotta keep that in mind. So I probably just want to emulate this entire thing. I'm not even sure if it's only going to be a part 1 thing. Okay, so let's start from the second line. So for int x equals 1, because we index starting from 0. Wait, no, that would be height. Yeah. So no, wait. Let's first find the s and put a line like this under it. If in items x equals s, then in items x plus one multiplied by in width. I do this just for consistency. Like this kind of code is a pattern for me, where there's like x, where you have the value of x, then you have the value of y, and the value of y is multiplied by the width of the array, of the two-dimensional array. So I want to set it to a pipe, and then we break out of this. So and then we start iterating from the second line. And whenever we find a splitter, for int x, this has to be height. X is less than width, x plus plus. Oops. So whenever we find a splitter, and there is a pipe above, so let's put y minus 1 here. We gotta put pipes to the sides of it. I'm a little weird about these x minus 1 and x plus 1. I know that the input kind of ensures that there is a space like around every splitter. Like, let's look at the input. Yeah, it kind of ensures that there's a space around every splitter, but I still feel kind of weird about it. So let's put these into their own variables, and x1 equals x minus 1 and x2 equals x plus 1. And only do these lines if the x coordinate is less than width and more than or equal to 0. Oops, I think I did something wrong. x2. Alright. So I don't think we need to do anything else except we need to have some kind of result. Let's put it in here. Int result equals 0 and increment result every time a split happens. And then at the end we gotta print the result as an integer. There seems to have been no errors, so let's try to run on the test input, and it says 1. Astounding. Also, I want to start from the first line, no? Also, let's open a second window for that. Yeah, that's weird. That's very weird. Int y equals 1, y is less than height for int x equals 0, x is less than width x plus plus. In items x plus y. Actually, I kind of wanna print what it sees. If I mean printf, just printf without fprintf. I have a nasty habit to always write fprintf for no reason. Um, and here we print a new line. So let's build this and try to run it. So it kind of sees whatever it should see. And at the end, let's put another new line here to separate them. It only happens once for some reason. Oh, it's because... Damn, I'm stupid. Okay, whatever. Instead of doing this, let's just fucking combine them into one single thing. Or maybe... if... y in brackets, boom. If this is a dot, and above is a pipe, we want the dot to become a pipe. Makes sense, right? Yeah, now it says 21. Ah, fuck. And if I try to print this, it shows exactly what we want, right? So now I can probably remove these prints and try these on the actual input. That is the right answer. You are 1 gold star closer to decorating the North Pole. With your analysis of the manifold complete, you begin fixing the teleporter. However, as you open the side of the teleporter to replace the broken manifold, you are surprised to discover that it isn't a classical tachyon manifold, it's a quantum tachyon manifold. With a quantum tachyon manifold, only a single tachyon particle is sent through the manifold. A tachyon particle takes both the left and right path of each splitter encountered. Since this is impossible, the manual recommends the many worlds interpretation of quantum tachyon splitting. Each time a particle reaches a splitter, it's actually time itself which splits. In one timeline, the particle went left, and in the other timeline, the particle went right. To fix the manifold, you really need to know the number of timelines active after active after a single particle completes all of its journeys through the manifold. In the above example, there are many timelines. For instance, there's a timeline where the particle always went left. there's a time or there's a timeline where the particle alternated going left and right at each splitter. Or there's the timeline where the particle ends up at the same point as the alternating timeline, but takes a totally different path to get there. In this example, in total the particle ends up on 40 different timelines. Apply the many worlds interpretation of quantum tachyon splitting to your manifold diagram. In total, how many different timelines would a single tachyon particle end up on? Well, now we don't need to edit the array. So let's free it afterwards. Here in items. Let's free it afterwards. Also, I should do some error handling on this. Not this, but this. So, what I do with this? Maybe it's gotta be some kind of recursive algorithm? Where like, on each split, where like you go downwards, you have some kind of coordinate as the input of the recursive algorithm, of the recursive function, I mean. And each time it goes down, and when it encounters a splitter, instead of calling one recursive function, it calls two recursive functions. Or something like that. That seems like the most obvious answer here. Yeah, maybe I should stop thinking and just start solving the problem. So let's create such function that accepts this. And I don't know, I'll call it timeline. And it accepts one of those, and it accepts this character in thing. I'm gonna make it const. And we probably wanted to accept the x and y coordinate. So this function timelines should return the number of timelines, of course, that a particle could like split into on from starting from this coordinate. Oh, right. We need to know what the x and y is. I'm gonna call them S. No, I'm gonna call them OX and OY for origin. XO, OY. Inksoyo. I think that's funnier, so let's leave it as leave it at that. And XO, YO. So to get this XO YO coordinate, we need to start iterating on the first line. X is less than width. And if in items x plus 0, what did I write? O is equal to s, we want to set xo to x and oy to 1, which it could be from the very start, to be honest, so let's just break here. In fact, we could just set xo to 0. And I gotta make it less confusing. And iterate. We don't even need any kind of special indicators for this variable now. We just need to break here. While x is less than width and in items does not equal s, x plus plus. This is pretty. I like this prettiness. I like how pretty this is. Whatever. So we got the coordinate where the splitter starts, basically. I can just remove this, really. Alright, so we go down, so like In one timeline, we go downwards until we meet a splitter. Until we meet a splitter, at which point we should stop going downwards and let two other function calls like that go downwards. While y is less than height. Well, y is less than height. Y plus plus. If if n items equals a splitter, I mean plus y multiplied by width. So if we encounter a splitter, we should return timelines plus timelines that a particle splits into starting from x plus 1 or x minus 1. Let's put it in the other direction, just for prettiness. Or otherwise we return 1. Okay. Let's do some kind of check at the beginning. If x is more than or equal to width, or x is less than 0, we return 1. Let's go through the compiler errors, which for some reason don't go through the file. I can't navigate this. Oh, right. In input. Oh. So that's it. Okay, let's try. Seems to go on infinitely for no reason. Let's start the printf. X and Y. Okay. What are these giant numbers? Oh wait. I'm trying it on the actual input. I didn't try it on test input. Okay, it works on test input. So I just gotta keep going? Or maybe a recursive algorithm is too bad for this? I just gotta keep waiting to know the answer. Maybe it grows exponentially. If it's gonna be a huge number, maybe it's gonna be like above the 32-bit integer limit. And then I'll need to run all of this again, just with a different type. Come on! I wonder how much it loads my CPU right now. Well, that's a lot. Has to traverse that many paths. Man, this cannot be a good solution. I wanna look at the input. How many paths can there be? Like, that's probably a lot of paths. Wow. Hmm. I have an idea on how I could treat this similarly to how we did part 1, actually. I remember I was watching some kind of regex video, and in that video, uh, let me actually do this in some kind of test file, whatever. And in that video, there was kind of some kind of algorithm that could take on many paths. And so that could take on many paths. And in some cases, you would end up taking like similar paths. So you could essentially merge those. So you could essentially merge those algorithms into one, because the expressions were still regular, and you could do it with regular expressions, but the way regular expressions work now isn't actually regular expressions and stuff. Well, there's a like some kind of scientific term uh, called regular language, which is a very specific kind of language, something like that. So, and basically, for example, you could take this path and this path, and then you could take this path and this path, and then both of these paths would end up being here. So at this point, you could basically merge them into one path. And like compute them simultaneously instead of keeping on computing two of them. And so like my idea is that instead of using pipes to denote particles, I could use digits. Actually, I could use digits. Yeah, let's fuck this. I'm gonna ditch recursive things. So like I would keep track of how many times a specific cell was a specific cell was visited in each timeline. Though it feels like it might require me to parse, to like convert this thing in a specific way. So yeah, let's just do that. I'm gonna get rid of some things here. So let's malloc like what do I call this? No, cells. Let's call this in, and I'm gonna call this in underscore. And I'm gonna malloc height multiplied by with integers in here. I is less than height. Oh wait, no. I need to do like yx thing. Y is less than height. Y plus plus. Alright, so in x plus y multiplied by width, if in underscore items with this shit is complicated. Okay, in width. So if it equals to a dot, let's call this an OJ now. This could be a character. Let's just call it C. So if C equals so n x plus y multiplied by width equals 0, or s. I want to also add this condition, or s. Else if it's equal to a splitter, I want to make it -1. Some kind of special value, if you get what I mean. So just convert result like that. So now we could start calculating the actual the actual value. I'm gonna be right back. I need to leave for a second. I'm back. Actually, if it's S, we could make it 1. Yeah, simply be 1. Alright, so now we can start actually working with it and calculating the result. For int y equals 1 is less than height, that is less than height, y plus plus, is less than width. So for each of these cells, if in x plus y divided by width is less than 0. So it's like -1, we got this special value. We are going to add the value above this cell. The value above this cell. To the cells to the right, to the left and to the right of this splitter. We denote splitters with a value less than 1. Else, we simply add the value above. Simply add the value above to this cell. Let's see if there are any kind of... Oh, I see. Alright. So, and at the end, for int x is less than width plus plus, at the end we simply add each one of these values at the bottom, that we got at the bottom. So height -1. One of these values that we got at the bottom to the result. Let's try this on the test input. We got -8. Let's try to make it a large integer. We still get -8, I know. Oh, it's not a type here. Alright, so long integer, a little int. Oh, wait. We shouldn't add the value above if it's less than 1. If it's less than 0. Is more than or equal to 0. The value above. So we get 40 on the test input, which is correct. See? And now maybe I can use an integer here. So let's try this on our input. It's a negative number. It's still a negative number. And I don't know what's wrong with it. Let's make these large integers too. It's a negative number, but now it's less. possibly go wrong? Mm, how to make the UI here large? So let's go through it, I guess. Can you look at N as some kind of as an array of integers? Oh, maybe I could, I don't know, do this. Fuck's sake. Yes, there's no way to look at it in a pretty way. Let's try to print it, I guess. It's character c equals dot. If is more than 0, c equals a pipe. Else, if it's less than 0, it equals a splitter. It's not fprintf, it's just printf. So yeah, let's try to print it. Oh yeah, this is a character. Out test the txt. I fucked it up a little. Guess this is how it should look. What if I actually try to print these as numbers? I wanna see. Because this is kind of how I imagined it in my head. If it's less than 10, I want to print it like this. Else, I want to use a and also remove 10 from here. Subtract, I mean. So, this is kind of how it should look. Now what if I try actual input on this and on some file? Oh my gosh. These numbers get huge. Maybe I can't print them because they get so huge. That would be insane, dude. If that's why I can't print them, that would be just insane. Oh wait. Okay, I don't want this. Maybe I'm gonna print it out. I accidentally exited Twim, now I have to write this command. So yeah, now we printed it and finally, ooh, I was fucking scared. This is so cool. I, I really okay. I really liked how it kind of tricked me into using a recursive solution, which ended up not working. So it kind of forced me to this non-recursive solution. This is so cool. I love this, man. This is awesome. All right, I guess I kind of finished with it. So it's time to end the stream, which didn't have any viewers, but maybe someone on YouTube is going to watch the VOD or whatever. So, anyways, I love you. Bye.